Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to a new edition of the Daily Debate. In tonight's show, we're going to be focusing on entrepreneurship, leading the way for a better Egyptian economy. This is in light of the state really encouraging the youth and enhancing the idea of entrepreneurship, really giving the youth the chance to create their own businesses and their own work opportunities. We're going to be focusing on this file tonight, but before we do so, let's check out some of the main stories making the headlines in the news today. We'll start off with President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, who instructed today to continue efforts aimed at promoting companies and factories affiliated to the Ministry of State for military production, especially within the framework of its pivotal role in developing the national economy and upgrading national industry. During his meeting with Prime Minister Mustafa Madbouli and Minister of State for Military Production Mohammed Ahmed Mursi, the President stressed on the significance of implementing national mega projects nationwide, hailing the pivotal role played by the ministry in producing and developing military ammunition. President al-Sisi also gave his directives to expand cooperation with specialized giant international companies which have big experience in this field, with the aim of reaching the latest modern technologies and localizing industries, as well as opening new horizons for innovative and promoted industries in Egypt. Presidential spokesman Bassam Radi said the meeting tackled the implementation of developing military factories and companies strategy. Also, President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi held a meeting and talks with visiting Sudanese Foreign Minister Mariam al-Sadiq al-Mahdi in Cairo on Tuesday, during which the President confirmed anew Egypt's constant stance of the significance of reaching a binding legal agreement regarding filling and operating Ethiopia's dam, taking into consideration interests of water rights of downstream countries. President al-Sisi asserted that Egypt supports Sudan at all dimensions of bilateral ties for the sake of cooperation, construction and development. The head of state expressed Egypt's consolidation to all peace and stability efforts in Sudan during this crucial stage in its history, and expressing Egypt's keenness to enhance bilateral ties, especially in the trade exchange and electric linkage and lines fields. For her part, the Sudanese minister said her country is looking forward to promoting mutual efforts to enhance joint cooperation, hailing Egypt's sincere support to maintain Sudan's stability. And at a joint press conference following their talks in Cairo, Foreign Minister Sameh Shoukry and his Sudanese counterpart stress on the importance of reaching a binding legal deal over the filling and operation of the so-called Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam. The top diplomat said they backed reaching such a deal that would protect the interests of the three countries and preserve the water rights of Egypt and Sudan and limit the harms on the two downstream countries. The minister stressed that Cairo and Khartoum have a serious political will to achieve this aim as soon as possible, adding that they appreciate efforts by South Africa during its chairmanship of the African Union in the negotiations over the GERD. Shoukry said discussions over Ethiopia's dam are aimed at reaching a fair agreement. The two ministers welcomed Congo's leadership of the African Union during the current, and Shoukry and al-Sadiq al-Mahdi expressed concern over the collapse of the AU-sponsored dam talks. They said Ethiopia's announcement to start the second filling of the dam unilaterally poses a direct threat to the water security of both Egypt and Sudan. And the Aswan Forum for Peace and Sustainable Development continued its activities today. The forum, in its second edition, is held through video conference due to the coronavirus circumstances. It is held under the theme, Formation of a New Normality in Africa, Recovery in a Stronger Way and Better Reconstruction. Heads of states and governments, as well as senior officials and experts, are attending the event. The forum witnesses 3 sessions. The first one is over women and peace and the security in Africa during the corona pandemic and afterwards. The second session discusses activating structural protection in Africa, and the third session is held under the title Swift Economic Recovery for Structural Transformation. Earlier, President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi addressed the forum via video conference, saying the continent is still suffering from conflicts that undermine development efforts and call for unified efforts to settle the ongoing conflicts. Other African leaders addressed the opening session via video conference.
Une atmosphère favorable pour réaliser les plus hauts niveaux de développement et davantage d'emplois.
These were all the main stories making the news today, but now let's focus on our topic of discussion, and we'll start off with this report regarding the Ministry of Planning and Economic Development launching its first interactive platform for entrepreneurship in the Middle East and Africa. Let's check out this report and we'll be right back.
The Ministry of Planning has launched an interactive platform, SMB Business Bot for Entrepreneurship, to support small and medium enterprises in the Middle East and North Africa. Minister of Planning Hala Said said in a statement that the platform, in cooperation with several other platforms, represents one of the mechanisms to spread the culture of entrepreneurship, support small and medium enterprises, and encourage youth projects. The minister said the new move comes within the framework of the Egyptian state and the Ministry of Planning's efforts to support entrepreneurship and encourage youth to create job opportunities by themselves. The minister asserted the keenness of her ministry to provide mechanisms supporting the entrepreneurship thinking, expressing its keenness on establishing business incubators via Ruwad 2030 project, which was launched by the ministry to spread the free business culture and support youth thinking in order to participate in economic development operations, provide job opportunities, and decrease the unemployment rates. The minister asserted that launching this platform is an important step that supports digital transformation and activates the mechanisms of modern technology, stressing that the state spares no efforts to support digital transformation and use technology means to upgrade the level of services and projects, as well as to be able to compete according to world competitiveness indicators. Egypt issued its first report on entrepreneurship indicators by the end of 2020, highlighting some key factors such as the rise in the number of startups. Such indicators are important for decision makers, entrepreneurs, and bodies concerned with startups. Over the past 10 years, the number of startups in Egypt has exceeded 400 companies. About 60% of these funds are injected from 2017 to 2025. The report also highlighted the rise in the number of companies attracting foreign investments by 35% every year. Egypt devoured about 25% of financing rounds in the Middle East and North Africa in 2019. Ruwad 2030 works under 3 axes. The most important one is education. It is a program that cooperates with Cambridge University as well as the US and German universities searching for successful education partners.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Starting off our discussion right away, we're joined here in the studio by Mrs. Shireen Ramadan, the Human Capital Development Consultant. Mrs. Ramadan, thank you very much for joining us.
You're most welcome. It's always my pleasure.
Always a pleasure. Mrs. Ramadan, first of all, now the Ministry of Planning and Economic Development has launched the first interactive platform in the Middle East and Africa for entrepreneurship. Now, how significant is this launch, is this platform for startups, entrepreneurs, small and medium businesses? It's dubbed the SMB Business BOT or BOT. So what can this platform do for SMEs and entrepreneurs?
Right. Well, let's first know what is an interactive platform. It's actually it provides an ecosystem for entrepreneurs and entrepreneurship, people who are interested in entrepreneurship, to be able to acquire information, to have more networking facilities, even educational facilities, etc. But what's different about being an interactive platform and specifically the bot option is you will be having this interactive, like like the assistant that can provide interaction on your behalf. It can actually do things on your behalf. It can interact with other platforms on your behalf. So that's how it's being done. And of course, it's very significant to have to launch something like this because it connects. Let's allow me first to shed a more light on the importance actually of entrepreneurship and why all these efforts have been done to boost the entrepreneurship mentality and to get the youth to think of entrepreneurship. Because entrepreneurship and small medium enterprises is not only that it's very beneficial, of course, for economy. It creates more job opportunities. It's got another kind of sociological role because you know how the youth can be easily attracted to extremism and can be easily, when they're not having this kind of self-actualization that they get from the normal jobs they get. They get jobs sometimes that does not fit their creativity, their talents. They're underpaid, underappreciated, so they can't actually achieve the self-actualization. They cannot, even if they have ideas, even if they're very talented in a certain area, and they have ideas, it's very difficult to push these ideas forward when you have a job as an employee. So having the youth or having those who are having talents and having ideas to know where the channels are to push these ideas forward and exploit it to the maximum, it really has a great societal role for any country. Also, the economical part, if you look at the West, for example, you'll find that 99% of the enterprises are small and medium enterprises. And that is an indication of how refreshed the economy is, because you have to have a solid base of small and medium. Of course, you will need the large enterprises, etc., and the international and multinational enterprises. But having a wide, solid base of small and medium enterprises boosts the economy and helps the economy become more stable.
Well, it seems that the term entrepreneurship and startups is relatively a young term that's been used and has been really launched by the youth over the past few years. And everyone was still quite skeptical about it, of how it will succeed or if it fails. There are many examples that went on and succeeded, and many examples that have not been so fortunate. Now it seems that the government is really launching this initiative, this really encouraging, taking steps forward. It was mainly the Egyptian Central Bank having £200 million allocated for the SMEs, but now the government seems to be really backing such a direction for the investors. And right now, SMEs and entrepreneurships are consisting about 60% of the Egyptian economy. So this sort of journey up until now that we're starting to launch this platform, what do you think were the main steps or stages that the idea and the concept and the strategy has gone through to reach what it is right now?
Right. Well, allow me first to say that, entrepreneurship has been introduced in Egypt strongly in the past 10 years. But entrepreneurship as a term or as an idea, it's been there for ages. I mean, everyone was an entrepreneur at the beginning. Everybody had an idea, like Facebook, you know, like Mark Zuckerberg. He was an entrepreneur. But entrepreneurship, there are so many types of entrepreneurship. Under entrepreneurship, you have small, medium enterprises, you have micro enterprises, you have the innovative-driven enterprises. And each and every sector of these enterprises has a certain path. If we talk about small, medium enterprises, for example, they comprise of enterprises that mainly work in service. They provide a solution to a need that is already there, like dry cleaners. You know, there's a need, and you provide this need, and you start a project, but you don't aim to go global. Pardon me. You don't aim to go global. You don't have to have a lot of shareholders, etc. But when you come to innovative-driven enterprises, which is like Facebook, like Apple, when it started, it's the idea of having a new idea from scratch, or even an idea that has been introduced into the market, but having new solutions, new ideas to how to do things, and keep working on the innovation side of it. And these companies, most of the time, they go global. Most of the time, they end up being large enterprises in the future. So let's go back to Egypt, and in the past 10 years, there have been so many initiatives towards the entrepreneurship, towards fostering an ecosystem for entrepreneurship, to have the culture of entrepreneurship throughout the youth and the people with talent, etc. Because of the things we've mentioned, because of how important this is to the economy, because how important this is to, because, you know, the government cannot keep working on, we are over 100 million, and the government cannot provide jobs for all the youth coming into the market, into the job market. So the idea of having the entrepreneurship mentality, you partner with the government to provide job opportunities as well. So not only that you're having self-actualization for yourself, you're reaching your dreams, you're having your ideas, having your income, being independent, achieving work-life balance, but by time your enterprise will keep growing if you, of course, if you're going through the right path. And then you will add more job opportunities into the job market in Egypt. You will be able to bring funds, maybe actually attract investors from outside, foreign investors, to come and invest in Egypt. The more that your innovative ideas keep going into the market, the more it will attract investors to want to come and invest. So the attention has been given for the past 10 years, specifically coming with the Agenda 2030 and 2063, and with the sustainable development idea. As I said, we're tackling all areas of development when it comes to human capital, when it comes to economy, sustainable development in all areas. And one of the areas is for developing human capital is entrepreneurship.
Yes. Well, it seems, as you've mentioned, over the past 10 years, it was introducing or really encouraging this culture of entrepreneurship, and a big part of that culture is the risk-taking factor. And because a lot of people can succeed and a lot of people can fail, and at the same time, a fresh graduate wouldn't know exactly what to do to start up their own business and their own project. And it's about the know-how and how to go, which channels to go through, and what papers should they actually work on filling up. So is such a platform right now, the Business BOT, is it something that will help the youth to start up their own business, their own startups, or does it help the already existing startups? How does this work? Does it guide or lead the youth to go through their whole entrepreneur journey?
Well, actually, it does both for the existing and for the those who want to come into the market. But let me first say, what are the challenges that would face anyone who wants to start an enterprise or to become an entrepreneur? There are so many areas. First, you have the idea. you're talented, you have an idea, and you want to start a business to achieve your dream when it comes to this idea. And even if you don't have the idea, you can have the mentality of an entrepreneur. You can have the ability to manage people, the ability to think out of the box. And also you have to have the business, what do you call the business thinking, the business mentality, how to manage a business, how to attract opportunities, how to market your product, how to reach clients, how to a lot of other things. And there is the funding. There is whether you have the money or you don't have the money for all of this to come to life. So there are so many areas in order for someone to become an entrepreneur. If you speak to anyone in university, especially in the East, like in the West, not everyone is interested to become an entrepreneur, even though you do have a large scale of entrepreneurs in the market. But still, in Egypt, if you speak to anyone, would you like to become an entrepreneur, to become a business owner? I tell you, yes, sure, of course. But what it takes to become an entrepreneur is so many sides. And this platform, what it does is it brings together, because the government has been working on, for example, the Roued 2030 project. This project has had all these efforts that we're talking about, the funding, the learning and training, the certification, even the networking. How to be able to network with existing entrepreneurs or with people who want to become an entrepreneur. And of course, they provide legal consultation, financial consultation for those who want to become entrepreneurs. This is, for example, you have business incubators. Roued project has 9 business incubators. And there is the Shirketak, something like Shirketak something. ابني مستقبلك is one, ابدأ مستقبلك, and then شركتك, and then بداية, and then there is the innovation, technology, and entrepreneurship, business incubator as well. And all these places, they provide the funding and the consultation, etc. What the hub does is it brings all the stakeholders in the matter together in one platform, in one place, so that if I want to become an entrepreneur and I want to have certifications, or I want to have a business incubator, for example, I have all the options in one place. And this platform, in fact, directs me where to go, where to reach, what to do. And it, as I said, because of having the robot thing or the bot thing, it actually communicates with, it's very interactive, like it directs me as if I've just came to you and asked you what to do, and you do it on my behalf. You tell me you can go there, you can go here. And this is one of the very outstanding initiatives, because it's making the youth. If you look at the youth, or even not the youth, even all the generations now are already present on the digital world, the social media or else. So when you want to attract them, you're going to the right place, and you're tackling the digital transformation agenda in the 2063 and the 2030. You're reaching them in the language of today, as they say. Everything is turning digitalized, and everyone who wants anything would go in the internet. But instead of being confused or getting lost between the business incubators, the funding, etc., you have everything in one place, a whole ecosystem, as I said, for entrepreneurs, whatever you need, networking, funding, learning, training, you name it, consultation, or comes even legal requirements. So that's why I'm saying this platform is really going to be, it's going to encourage people who want to become entrepreneurs, but they're kind of skeptical, as you said, or they're afraid of taking the risk because they don't know what to do. They don't know how to get the funds. That will help them in this area.
Yes. Well, this is the first one in the Middle East and Africa. What about other examples of other platforms in different parts of the world and different continents? How successful did they prove? Did they push the numbers of startups and entrepreneurs sky high? Does it take time to actually see the fruit and the results of such a platform?
It definitely will take time. I'm not sure about the numbers. What I'm sure of, because a lot of people enter the market as entrepreneurs, starting enterprise, but not all the enterprises actually see the light because of the logistics, as we mentioned, of how to start the enterprise, how to manage it, how to market it, how to fund it, etc., etc. So this platform, what it does is it kind of guarantees more the efficiency of the startup, the efficiency of the process of having a startup. And it doesn't only provide it's not like the typical place where you go for some guidance or advice on what to do to start a business. No, it continues with you. It even trains people. It gives some of the business incubators actually give training of trainers for those who want to start becoming entrepreneurs, to actually go and train other people how to become entrepreneurs. And once you start your enterprise, what to do, how to get legal consultation, how to get business management, write business plans, marketing, PR, etc. You have services in all areas. So what it does, what's the efficiency of it is it guarantees that the process go on more efficiently. Rather than adding the number of entrepreneurs, because there is criteria at the end of the day for people having there is grants for certifications, etc. But there's criteria for people entering.
So there are incentives even within this platform.
Of course, there are grants for certifications with the GUC. I think with Shirkitak, Sikkitak, something like that. This is one of the business incubators, and it gives funds up to 500,000 EGP for the period of 3 to 5 years, and also there is a grant in cooperation with the German University in Cairo to give certification in entrepreneurship, also in cooperation with the AUC to give mastering innovation and entrepreneurship management. As I said, they cover a lot of areas. The education sector is one big sector, and the training, the vocational training or the skill training is a big sector. The funding, the consultation, there's so many areas covered.
Yes. Well, ladies and gentlemen, as you've just heard, there are many efforts being exerted to push this sort of culture, this strategy, and help it boost the Egyptian economy. Egypt is actually has become one of the top countries in startup business development. Let's check out this report and we'll be right back.
As Egyptian entrepreneurs continue to build upon gains made in the last decade to develop the capacity for Egyptian youth to start, develop, and own their own businesses rather than follow their parents in their businesses or go into government jobs, now is the best time for youth to bring their creative vision and realize their own goals of independence and pride in building something from the ground up. The past few years had witnessed a big leap and now records for entrepreneurship in Egypt as the country braces for more economic development and integration to achieve the 2030 Sustainable Development Agenda. Egyptian entrepreneurs have won the highest number of deals made with financing and development agencies. Local entrepreneurs are becoming more mature and are solving larger scale problems in the country and beyond. As the number of Egyptian entrepreneurs increase and ecosystem develops into different industries, this allows the Egyptian entrepreneur scene to tackle larger and bigger issues facing the country. Startup funding has broken the $1 billion mark. Since 2011, Egypt has seen 60% growth in the number of startups it houses. Impressive for an industry that was non-existent just 10 years ago. Industries that saw the most attention were in transportation, with big Egyptian names expanding around the world, renewable energy, as well as information and communication services. Egyptian startups have become successful due to their struggle to overcome many obstacles. In line with Egypt's vision to support entrepreneurship as one of the drivers of economic growth, The government has launched the Egypt Entrepreneur Awards, aiming to acknowledge the state's brightest entrepreneurs across various industries. The awards ceremony is scheduled to take place in May 2021.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, continuing our discussion with Mrs. Ramadan. Now, it seems that this platform is sort of a game changer for the whole business strategy for entrepreneurship. So this platform doesn't just guide the youth or the entrepreneur to go to a certain office and get, oh, you should get these papers or fill this application or pay these sort of fees. You can actually do everything online through this platform. It would save you all the hassle.
Yes, of course. Well, this is very, as I said, it's outstanding because this is a new thing in Egypt, and it's part of the digitalization of the whole governmental process when it comes digitalizing the government. You know, the digital transformation of the whole of Egypt, and as you know, it's a global direction. The digital transformation of data, of government transactions, etc., is a global direction, and it's part of our agenda for sustainable development. Having this project, part of it, as you mentioned, it's not that you go on the site and it tells you, oh, you have to go to this office in downtown to grab this application, fill it, and then no, it actually, you do everything online, which side by side with the efforts that is happening in all the government portals and platforms for renewing the official documents, etc. It's like a small part of the whole digital transformation plan of the government.
Do you feel that such a platform or such a direction was in a way encouraged by the coronavirus pandemic now that everyone has been really staying at home, working from home, learning online, getting everything, even getting the groceries and doing your shopping online? Does this really encourage the people who are still getting or have gotten used to living your life within the comfort of your own house, not even having to go and run your business from an office? Is this one step in that direction as well, or do you think you still need to go there and you still need to go to the office and be on the field and on the streets hustling, really?
Right. Well, allow me to say first, the vision for the digital transformation in general, globally, has been put in place long before the COVID. And if it was not for this vision, if it was not for the infrastructure that was starting to be implemented here and there, whether in Egypt or outside, whether in the government or even in companies, in business, etc., we wouldn't have survived the corona the way we did. So there was already a vision for digital transformation. There was already a direction for that. The corona, when the COVID came, it just proved significant. This vision proved significant, proved that the vision for digitally transforming all the transactions and all the business processes is significant when it comes to force majeures and things like that. And the beautiful thing, I'm not saying the beautiful thing of the COVID, but the beautiful thing outcome that we came from COVID, as we mentioning entrepreneurship, is when you're ready. You know, when the master is, when the student is ready, the master will appear. When you're ready with ideas and innovations, and you have your mind is switched on, you can, when the opportunity presents itself, you can step in and start an innovative idea that will save the day, as they say. Just like the Zoom, and you know, Zoom, nobody knew Zoom before COVID. And here comes the importance of entrepreneurship, because Zoom was there long before COVID, right? The idea and the infrastructure was there. And somebody, somewhere, somehow thought to establish this platform for online communication, online chats, online businesses, etc. Before we are already in the crisis. Somebody went out of their way to think of an innovative, different solution. And when the opportunity was there, when the problem was there, they took the opportunity, they boomed.
Yes.
So here comes the importance of entrepreneurship, is when you have an idea and you work for it, it will boom when it booms. But the most important thing, that you put the infrastructure and you're ready for when the opportunity presents itself.
Yes. Well, this platform will help Egyptian entrepreneurs and will provide these services for the Egyptian youth, and connecting all these different startups and have this sort of networking, as you've mentioned. Now, this is the first one in the Middle East and Africa. Can we actually use such a platform to not just connect the Egyptian youth to each other and the startups to each other and all these enterprises and all the logistics services? Can we also go beyond our borders and make use of this sort of connection to connect the Egyptian youth and the Egyptian entrepreneurs with the other Middle Eastern one, with other African entrepreneurs?
Well, exactly. It's already directed to the Middle East and Africa, to the MENA region. And one of the very important aspects of it is to connect entrepreneurs like internally and globally. And in fact, it involves investors. Actually, it involves all stakeholders, you know, in the matter, investors, because you know how, again, if we say Facebook, when it started, it was just an innovative idea, just someone who wanted to connect the college students together, and then it spread more, and then it became global, and then it became a big company with shareholders, etc. So when you start up being an entrepreneur or having a small medium enterprise, and you're present in the market, especially online through such platforms, when you're present, you do your networking with peers, you do your networking with other entrepreneurs that have, you know, to know the best practices and to know the lessons learned, and also you do network with people in the same industries, even if they're from large, you know, like mentors, because what happens is also they provide side by side with education and training, as I mentioned, they provide mentorship and coaching. And mentorship and coaching is from people who already are entrepreneurs and who already went through the experience. So you can know from them what to do, like where are the obstacles, how did they overcome the obstacles, what are the lessons learned, what are the best practices when it comes to managing your business, etc. So that's why it's huge. Yani that's why it's not only a platform where you go and have some guidance what to do. It's actually connecting the world. It attracts investments. It connects the world. It interacts on your behalf. It basically does magic.
Yes. Well, this is a wonderful sort of initiative, but with it also it comes a lot of monitoring, a lot of evaluation of how this platform is working, and evaluation of how the youth and the entrepreneurs are responding to such a platform. What sort of do you see or do you expect difficulties to arise, or sort of obstacles that maybe need to overcome, because it's the first in the Middle East and Africa, so probably it will not be just smooth sailing all throughout. What do you see are the main difficulties and obstacles that could be possibly pose themselves?
Right. Well, when we talk about this platform, there are so many sides. Of course, there's the technological side, the ICT of it all, like technology and communication, and how, and this is like a big technical area that I don't know of, but still, I'm sure there's definitely a huge effort and a huge establishment behind being able to establish this platform. There's also the statistical, the data and statistics behind, if we're talking entrepreneurship in general in Egypt specifically. and as I mentioned, the Rouad, because the platform is only the place that brings everything together. And it brings everything together, like the business incubators, the funding, everything together. We have the Rouad project, and the Rouad project, which is the Rouad project 2030, they cover the areas, they actually do the work. The platform bring everything together, but the Rouad project is on behalf of the Ministry of Planning. They make cooperation with universities for grants, to give grants for studying entrepreneurship, studying business management, studying things like that. They do the networking, and with other entities as well. They also do the statistical part. They have something called the Rouad meter, which gives statistics and data on how many startups are there in the market, how many startups actually saw the light, how many startups boomed and became from SMEs to large enterprises, how many succeeded, how many didn't, how many new, etc. So I'm sure there is so many efforts in so many areas when it comes to having this platform in place, and when it comes to entrepreneurship ecosystem in general. You're talking investment, you're talking finance, you're talking education, you're talking training, you're talking technology and communication. So so many collaboration between stakeholders to get such a collaboration, such a thing in place, such an ecosystem for achieving entrepreneurship.
Yes. Well, Mrs. Ramadan, you're an expert in human capital development, and you've been exposed to all sorts of startups and entrepreneurs as well. Now, with your experience over the past 10 years, now, what sort of enterprises proved to be successful, especially in Egypt, and what enterprises the market is actually very saturated with? What sort of sector do you feel entrepreneurs should explore more? Maybe the market needs more of that. Can you give us main general guidelines for these?
Right. Well, if we talk about startups, as you mentioned, in the past 10 years, for example, startups have been coming to a lot of people's minds. Let's differentiate between startups or entrepreneurship, because the guy who's selling cigarettes in the street, he is an entrepreneur. Let's talk about a doctor, for example. A doctor can be an employee if he's hired in a company, for example, or if he's hired in a hotel to become the hotel doctor. So he is an employee. If he goes out and he has his own practice, then he's an entrepreneur. But he still does not provide the job opportunities and the growth, and he cannot go from a small enterprise to a global enterprise, a large enterprise, etc. He's going to be, as they say, if you cannot be away from your work for 90 days, you're not an entrepreneur, you're self-employed. Because you're actually having your own practice, yes, but you have to do the job. You're the one who does the job. You have to be there. You're the one who's doing things with your own hands. You're not hiring other people. When this practice, for example, this doctor is having a center, like a dentist, for example. So he's got a dental center where he has other dentists hired in the place, whether he does with them the job with his hands or not, but still, if he's not there, this place is functioning, and it provides the job opportunities, etc. And one day it can become a big hospital, for example. And then you have the doctor who owns a hospital, and you have the doctor who manages a group of hospitals, etc. So these are the different stages of entrepreneurship, or becoming an entrepreneur. Also, let's say, you ask me what are the ideas that strive and continue and what not. Now, believe it or not, we cannot say, oh, the market needs this, so let's just go and do this. I think this was the mentality of the past. Like, if you remember, we used to see the ads on TV, if they're doing tea, for example, oh, everybody's going to manufacture tea. So what does the market need? We're going to go ahead and do it. But this is not this age anymore. We are in the knowledge economy, so the knowledge is your product. It's not actually a tangible product anymore. The more innovative your idea is, the more, for example, if we talk Facebook, it's communication and it's getting college students to communicate with each other, but it was not the first. There was MySpace, there was, I don't remember the names, but there were so many applications doing the same thing like Facebook. But what Facebook did is it did it in a different way. They were always innovative, and up till today, they keep innovating.
Yes.
Every time you open Facebook, you find a new edge, and you find a new icon, you find a new anything. So the name of the game when it comes to startups, when it comes to entrepreneurship, is innovation. And that's why they teach innovation side by side with entrepreneurship. You have to become innovative in your ideas. And that doesn't mean we're going to stop working in current businesses, like people still have to eat and have to kaza, but you have to have the innovative ideas of how to implement what is already there, and to become always on top of what's happening in the market, so you can always know what's new, so you can implement the new ideas there is.
Yes. Well, Mrs. Ramadan, pardon, but one final question, because we're running out of time, but how would you know if you would actually function better as an employee or working for a company or the public sector? And how would you know if you're an entrepreneur? Like, what are the sort of qualities that a person needs to possess to be a successful entrepreneur? Or maybe you would function better as a part of a team or an employee doing something in a multinational or for the public sector?
Right. Well, there is a famous saying that, you know, innovation or creativity can be cultivated, but entrepreneurship can be taught. So you can be someone who has a job and you're quite happy, and I can teach you how to be an entrepreneur. You can actually become an entrepreneur and you don't have an idea. You can have a friend who has an idea, and you guys partner together and you have an enterprise. So being an entrepreneur is something you can teach. Okay. So as you say, how do you know whether someone wants to? If you have a job and you're quite satisfied and you're not aspiring for anything anymore, you're achieving your work-life balance, you're achieving the great income, you're quite happy. You think you're like self-satisfied, there's self-actualization, you're treated fine, you're being promoted, then that's fine. But if you feel like you cannot achieve what you want, you cannot have your work-life balance, you're always stressed, you're always underpaid, appreciated, etc., then you can always investigate the entrepreneurship, because it's a science now. It's a science, and you have masters in entrepreneurship, you have and business management. You can study that and become introduced to it, and that would tell you, it will teach you, and it would tell you if you find yourself in it.
Yes. Well, ladies and gentlemen, as Mrs. Ramadan mentioned, there are a lot of reasons and a lot of hope for the entrepreneurship, the small and medium enterprises here in Egypt, especially with the launch of the SMB Business BOT platform, the first in the Middle East and Africa. Definitely a lot of encouraging signs for the youth, a lot of encouraging signs for the investors, the entrepreneurs, really having some sort of a self-sufficient purpose in life, and having your own job opportunities created by yourself. Unfortunately, that's all the time we have for this edition of the Daily Debate. But before we go, I'd like to thank Mrs. Shireen Ramadan, the Human Capital Development Consultant. Mrs. Ramadan, always a pleasure having you with us.
Thank you, Henny.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, please stay tuned for more coming up on Al International. I'm Henny Saif. Thank you for joining us.